This is a really different way to make music with the Novation Circuit. What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. As many of you probably know and are probably at least a little bit bummed about, the circuit can't do USB over audio. You can't record multiple tracks without actually soloing each individual track and then lining them up in your DAW later, which is not actually too bad. I did a whole video on that I'll link at the end of this video, but there is the next best thing for people who like to use the circuit less as a self-contained device and more as a portable musical sketch pad. And that is multi-track MIDI over USB. And because I like using stuff completely self-contained whenever possible and using built-in sounds, and I actually do really like Novation's sound engine, I hadn't really messed around with it until this video. I wanted to go out of my way to give it a go and see how well it works. And it actually is pretty cool. So the beat that you heard in the intro was made using my sample pack that you can grab for $5. I'll link that in the description. It's a bunch of one-shots of drum and synth sounds that I've recorded from a bunch of my synthesizers and designed using plugins. But shameless self-promotion aside, I used those just in sampler engines so I can actually flip them chromatically, a thing that the circuit unfortunately also can't do. And then I supplemented those with some sounds from Analog Lab by Arturia. So let's get into the actual process and the beat that I made for this video. I made this beat just while sitting on the couch, like talking to family and just messing around. I came up with a cool part and wanted to go from there, so I figured this would be a perfect candidate for this video topic. I was just dealing with like default sounds, so I didn't even like bother with anything that was all that polished. Once I had the idea that I wanted to bring in, I connected the circuit to my computer via USB, loaded up Reaper, which is my DAW of choice. This will probably be a similar process in other DAWs. This is just the one I happen to be using. And here's the really important thing. You need to set up multiple tracks with the MIDI routed separately into each track, and then all those tracks armed at once. So let's actually jump into the computer and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's briefly talk about what's going on in the circuit session. So I've got synth 2 here, and that's pulling double duty. That's got the bass and the ARP on it. And then I've got synth 1 here that's just playing the lead. And then of course the drum tracks, I've got drum 1 with the kick, drum 2 with the snare, drum 3 with the hi-hat. Didn't bother putting anything on that last drum track. So then I just have to connect this to my computer, nothing else special that I have to do, and go from there. All right, so we are finally into Reaper. I've got a slightly pared down version of this because my computer didn't want to run like a bajillion armed tracks at once, so we're gonna make do with these. I'm just gonna hit play on the circuit first of all so you can hear what this sounds like. Going on here. So let's talk through the routing. This might be a little different based on what DAW you're in, but I imagine it's pretty similar. So for my in, I've got my input set to MIDI, Focusrite circuit, and I've got channel 1, and that corresponds to synth 1. So if I solo this guy and hit play on the circuit, that's just the purple synth, aka synth 1. Moving on to this one is set to channel 2, which is the second synth track, the green one. And we're going to deal with that bass in a second here. And then the drums are a bit interesting because I had to skip around a bit to try to find the right thing. So the input MIDI, channel 10 is, I believe, just all the drums. But you're not hearing the snare because that's being taken care of by this track with the exact same routing. So together, because I've set my samples to only get triggered by certain keys. And I did that just using the built-in sample engine. So let's say we actually want to record this. Hit record. And I'm just going to take that little stretch for demonstration purposes. So I can go ahead and split this stuff. It looks like I kind of nailed the point where I hit play. So let me just move this over. And I can select all, quantize just to nudge it over a bit. Same over here. Select all, quantize. In this case, I can just select all, scoot that over. Same here, notice it has the MIDI of all the drums, but I only have the snare set to actually make any sound. So these don't really need any more adjustment, so let's set them aside. This MIDI, I can go ahead and copy into the Analog Lab track. Let me disarm all of these. So now we've got this. So this dude right here, I want it to just have the ARP. So I'm gonna copy this stuff over. And from here, it's pretty straightforward DAW work. But you can see that that was pretty quick to actually do. So let me delete that and let me find one of my bass tracks. That will work. So all I have to do now is just delete this stuff, extend this note out. That's actually already right where I want it because I thought ahead. Nice. And then I just go from there. I keep bringing in new samples, keep bringing in analog labs, and you end up with the final version. And that is it for that process. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like if you found this video helpful or interesting. And if you'd like to get my $5 one-shot pack, you can hit up the link in the description. I'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to check out that video about a different way to get multi-track circuit, you can click or tap up over here.